Everybody get ready because this is happening tomorrow. And of course, I'm talking about the interest rate decision over in the US. But the thing is, that's not the only thing. It's crypto we're talking about. Crazy things are happening every single day. But the most important part that can affect the prices the most is absolutely certainly going to be this one single event. And so I honestly recommend you guys to look back on my channel tomorrow because I'm going to be live streaming it. Because I honestly think we might be able to place a juicy trade for some juicy profits. That's why I recommend you guys to press that like button right now and let us dive right in. So first of all, the next couple of days, what's about to happen? You can see I have selected only the most important events that are happening around the world. Tomorrow being the Fed interest rate and the day afterwards being the ECB interest rate. Basically meaning US interest rate, whatever they're going to do. The Fed press conference half an hour later as to why they've made that decision and what they're thinking for the near future. And then afterwards, a day later, we've got ourselves the exact same thing, but then over in Europe. With then the day afterwards, Japan coming out with their interest rate, but nobody really cares too much about that. What's been more interesting is that cryptocurrencies have not done that well over the last couple of days, but still the stock market just keeps moving more and more upwards. And it leads me to believe that either right now something pretty scary is going to happen the moment we get ourselves this interest rate decision, because it might stir up the markets a little bit. And on the short term, we've already seen that Bitcoin and all these other cryptos, they're starting to lose a little bit of steam, where the volume is dropping, but so is the price, which basically means there's a little bit of exhaustion even in selling, or that we're just not zooming out far enough. Again, if you take a proper look at Bitcoin and you just zoom out ever so slightly, what will become pretty apparent pretty quickly is that, well, this whole breakdown that many people are quoting, has it really happened? Has it? Really? I mean, this is the weekly chart over on Bitcoin, and I still reiterate that the bottom is in for Bitcoin, which we found at this like $16,000 mark, $15,000 mark. And ever since that point, it's basically been trading upwards. And as of this point, even though on shorter time frames, yes, it might have actually broken down, over on the longer time frames, you can see how right now we can actually go down a couple $100 more towards about $28,800 before anything really gets strange or suspicious. Even $28,600 would be a pretty proper bounce where, again, the price could just look along the lines of this right here. Again, we set ourselves a bottom, had ourselves a high, got bounced off of the 200 weekly moving average, went back, again had a bounce, this time breaking above the 200 weekly moving average, getting back to some historical resistances, having a little bit of a bounce, but eventually breaking through. Couldn't get through another massive resistance though before breaking back down towards the 200 weekly moving average, slightly below it, but back bouncing off of this similar trend line. And then right now trying to again break through that resistance, couldn't, so it faces some or I'd say bounces again off of this major support, which again we could perhaps do over the next couple of days before then hopefully breaking out and having the momentum that we kind of expect from this phase into the bull market. Because as I've reiterated many times before, I still believe in the halving cycles, and I still believe that the last couple of months of the cycle, which we're almost already in right now, are usually bullish, or at least this end period right here, and actually the beginning of the next cycle as well. Is really a bullish period, this little area right there, with the all-time high being again somewhere right here, about a third into the halving, in this case here being somewhere in the middle of 2025, I presume. And I just want to say, if tomorrow you're looking to trade crypto, I personally use BitGet and BuyBit, both of which have links down below. It just depends on your preference and where around the world you live. BitGet I usually use with a VPN, but right now they've got themselves a cool spin prize wheel where whatever action you take rewards you with a spin on this wheel, which could be $100, a couple $1,000, or a MacBook. And then over on BuyBit, right now you can claim an 1,125 USDT XRP contract, which basically is an $1,125 XRP trade for absolutely free with the link down below. The only downside is BuyBit requires you to properly KYC. So if you're in a country that does not allow you to trade on BuyBit, you can't. But that's the exchange I personally use the most. Anyway, together with all that, you know, we're talking mostly about Bitcoin here, but at the end of the day, XRP is the only crypto with clarity, and apparently, XRP became the most traded altcoin in 2023. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Even though XRP, for the most part, has been downwards just before the lawsuit set in on the rankings. It wasn't, you know, top 2 or top 3 anymore, and it's fallen to a couple of altcoins, even to BNB. right now it's getting a lot of that momentum that it's missed throughout the last couple of years back. And again, this is funny enough what the price looks like for XRP. It was trading at about 49 cents for a good while, then had a massive spike upwards. And the fun thing about it, in my opinion, is people still are looking at the price right now thinking, it performed quite bad. But realistically, you would have never made these gains with gold, right? That's a fun part. And right now, we're in one of the most boring periods for Bitcoin ever. Again, the last month has just been sideways action, and we have yet to see a breakout since like 6 months or something like that. The first time we got to this price zone basically is the middle of March of this year. Right now, we're at the end of July, and we've basically not moved at all. And like Ripple themselves state, our survey found over 70% of global financial leaders say their confidence in the crypto industry increased in the past 6 months, and 50% plans to leverage crypto for payments. To find out what is driving this optimism, download their new value report in which they stated how things are going to change and that all these guys want to get into crypto. But then a little bit earlier in a video, we also watched David Schwartz's opinion on the crypto space, which basically said that for a very good part of it all is just a wait for regulations. And right now, it's just one of the more down periods, the bear phase, which again, I think is on the brink of changing. I still believe the bull market is already here. I think the lowest point is already made. We can see some volatility. We could even see a breakdown. But I'd say the general direction throughout this entire journey is going to be upwards until something else proves itself. Like for example, a regulatory breakdown that messes up the entire halving cycle section, but I don't think it's there yet. And actually, here's a little interesting video from Raoul Paul, I believe it is. Take a look at this.
There's this weird narrative from the past about Ripple. The point being is, even if they have to settle a lawsuit and get a slap on the wrist, Ripple plays actually quite an important role. It's a money transmission network, and it does quite a good job of it. And it has deep connections with global governments around the world and has worked really hard on it. So there is a reason the chain is valued as highly as it is. And it's not from speculation, because actually, it got taken off a whole bunch of exchanges because of the lawsuit. It's actually because when I use my netcast law model, the amount of value that gets transacted on the chain is very high. It's being used. So I think if you lift the legal issue, probability is that the value of the chain increases significantly. And as the world moves towards central bank digital currencies, I think the XRP network is going to be somewhere at the center of all of that.
And his whole logic might not be something I completely agree with, but I'd say the narrative perhaps is pretty okay, which is something that a lot of Bitcoin people can't deny, but they just like to avoid completely, which is even in the case of Ripple now being in a bad situation where the SEC won some parts and Ripple has to pay a fine back. Even John had a good answer to it all. And Bitcoin maxis have nothing to say about this. John says Ripple's 50 billion XRP times $35 is not concerned with 750 mil in unregistered sales of XRP. Not saying it will happen, just making an observation if it did. Which is a response to Mac, whom said, an XRP $35 forecast, Ripple's IPO holds the key. It's just some guys saying, hey, XRP could go to $35 if Ripple were to go for an IPO. Again, I can't say I fully agree with that, but the idea, I'd say, is pretty important here. That we're all thinking about whatever the SEC won here, right? Because apparently Ripple had such high institutional sales. Whenever I talk about that, I keep thinking, why are they considering 750 million to be a lot? I mean, for any person, for you and I, perhaps it's quite a significant sum of money. I'd say for almost any person out there. However, for the company, Ripple here, or perhaps for what we're changing, for what we're doing, it's really not that big a deal the way I personally see it. And especially as you start seeing XRP at these higher, my camera goes again. Like I was trying to say, at these, there we go. At these higher prices, it becomes, pretty much a non-issue at all. Because the value at $35 per XRP, with 50 billion XRP out there, right? That's what basically Ripple's got. Well, yeah, I mean, at that point, they've got so much quote-unquote selling pressure, which, I mean, even as of this point with their 70 cents or so, with the 50 billion XRP they have, even now, 750 mil is not that much. And we established before, even if Ripple had to pay a full-on fine for the $1.3 billion that was estimated at the start, a lot of us said, that's not really an issue. I'd gladly accept that fine if I were Ripple to get the proper clarity, which we've now gotten. And still there are many people sitting in on this. Oh, but the SEC, Bitcoin maximalists are trying to install this into your head, that the whole verdict was a loss. Even Charles Gasparino and other reporters are trying to make it seem like a loss, but it wasn't. XRP is a properly regulated crypto. It's permanent. It stays this way. Take it, just accept the reality here. Let's reiterate here. It does not matter if the SEC goes for an appeal. XRP, as of this point, is a properly regulated asset in the US. The case is over. XRP won. Whatever the repercussions are in terms of fines, who gives a crap? We're talking money. Those problems can easily be fixed. The most important part was the clarity, and we've got that. And I'd say the second most important thing, which is what we're facing right now, is making sure that we don't succumb to all this manipulation and understand the true mission and true vision behind it all. And, well, like the capitalist here, Mr. said, price fluctuations won't shake my faith. XRP's true value lies beyond the charts. It's true. And you might say, oh, it's frustrating the price is so low. Sure. Might be frustrating, but I'd say take this as a little bit of a longer-term goal. Expand your mind and you shall be freed. And then just for a little bit of fun here, you're at a party, nobody knows you've got XRP. Look at you standing there, huh? They don't even know I have XRP. I know, I just thought it was kind of funny.